most people, they don't struggle because they're not smart enough. They struggle because they are playing by the rules that they were never meant to help them win. I'm almost 30 years old, and I've seen many smart people in my life. But always quite interesting is that the smartest people which I've met, they quite often lost in life. I've noticed that they're not the happiest people. They do not have the highest status, the highest wealth. And I started asking myself a question. So why do this actually smartest people I've ever met, they do not excel in life, and why do they not reach happiness? And I want to start by sharing with you some of my personal observation. Then I want to share with you some key mistakes which people make. And then in the last part, we can go from this transition. So basically, in a tangible way, tell you how to move from where we are and what were these old lessons that school or life has taught us to basically where we want to be in the future. And just to start with, I found this quote of Naval Ravikant, which is the school trains you to be obedient and life rewards you for being original. And then I thought about this, okay, so from my personal story, what actually school taught me, or what were my mistakes that I started making in my friends and people around me, and what was the reason when I was unhappy, And thinking about this, I'm from a very small Polish town next to Ukrainian and Slovakian border. And when I lived in a small city, everyone told me to basically go and study at this engineering school in Krakow, or they told me to go and study at the school in Warsaw School of Economics. But I remember I went for the open days, and I actually found out that these are not the schools where I want to study, because people were drunk on the open days. And they were talking about some exams and the entry for every kind of class. And I was thinking, this is not what I want to do. Completely by accident, I chose completely, I would say, extraordinary decision from your perspective from small Polish town. But I went to study in the UK when I had to take quite a big debt, but it was rewarding, But in the next step, I started studying in the UK, and I remember there was this push from the school that everyone should apply for some corporate graduate roles. So that basically there's some graduate programs in London, and they're probably the best thing you can do in yourself, to yourself. And everyone was crazy between September and December that, oh my God, you need to apply for the job, and if you're not going to get it by December, then next year in June you'll be totally kind of in the wrong place, I could call it. And with time, I've noticed that, okay, I applied for the jobs, I didn't get it, so I felt worse. And friends that didn't get them, at the end of the day, they were also more depressed and burnt out. But also, after some time, I've noticed following these rules from the university, what they told us to do, it also meant for these people that were just ended up in corporations, working on okay salaries, but they were also quite unhappy because they were working 16 hours a day in some big corporates. And then this pressure didn't go well for any of us. And then I remember that I took some next risk, and I went to study in Switzerland, because I was thinking, okay, maybe UK is not the environment in which I'm thriving. Maybe different market. Maybe there's a different market. So I went to study in Switzerland. I went to St. Gallen, so probably the best Swiss business school in the region. And everyone was telling me, go to consulting, man. Go to consulting. Consulting is this thing that you want to do, and everyone is basically super happy. You travel the world, you get really high salary. But I went there, and I started working in Boston Consulting Group in Berlin. It was the worst experience of my life. I hated basically people with whom I was working. The projects were not merit-based. There was lots of just colleagues gossiping with each other, and people were working until midnight, 2 a.m. with high level of stress, and everyone was basically burnt out. And I was thinking, how do you even end up over here? I was always obedient by the rules that school was telling us. Go to the good university that they tell you to. They go to the job that they told you to go for, and then get the best grades. And I've noticed that there's this next step, but it never made me happy or never made my friends happy. And then I remember I went once for Harvard because I wanted to test, maybe I should go for Harvard MBA because it's another logical step. And I remember this quote, which was, if you don't have a plan for yourself, someone else will have a plan for you. And I've noticed this big corporations or the next step was good because it was, predictable. But I've noticed the corporations or these big universities, they have just the budgets to sell you the dreams, and then they want you to play by their rules. And I've noticed that there's this kind of weird, I would say, plan that you go to some school, then you go for some job that they want you to go for, and then usually you end up in burnout, depression, or you don't have time for your relationship, and you never end up well. But it was very interesting. Some people, lots of good friends of mine, they've taken a totally alternative way. They were thinking, okay, so what is the road that I want to do? What do I want from my life? And they took totally not, I would say, a standard route, which was setting up their own company, which was going for some startup, working in some sales role. And what they've noticed is that they don't hate their life. They actually like their life, and they can work from the place from which they want to. They have quite often bigger money, and in the long term, they have also time for their partners, and they can work from the places in which they want to. For example, lots of Polish people, they wanted to go back from UK or from Switzerland to Warsaw, and you have to kind of make your way through it. So looking back, I've started noticing, okay, maybe there is some trends. So I don't know why these people from corporations make bad decisions in the long term, and why do these people who think more extraordinary, and this is not the beaten path, why do they end up happier? So what I've noticed here is this 4 truths, which I've noticed from research, but also from looking at these mistakes of mine and maybe from my friends. Maybe not only mistakes, but this what was basically school telling you and what was the system telling you that actually didn't make you succeed. So first one is that choosing blindly your goals kills your why. So I've noticed that if you only play by the grades, if you're only playing by some metrics, or if you want to just make a task for your manager, quite often you don't understand why you're doing it. Why this grade, this exam is to be met. And Albert Einstein told this one quote which I really like: "Is not everything not everything counts can be counted." So in real life, the life is not only about one metric. It's not only about one thing. It's quite often more complicated. And you need to start asking yourself, what is this bigger picture? Why I'm doing things for myself? What do I want? Is this thing which I'm doing is meaningful? Is it only measurable and I'm meeting someone else's expectations? The second point which I've noticed about the mistakes, that actually no one tells you in the school which risks are worth it. So where should I get out of the system? Where is this beaten path? But where should I take some crazy risk? I don't become kite surfer, set up my company. Is that if you stick by the system, you're never gonna actually take some of these risks, because system wants you to play by the rules. And this Steve Jobs told this quote is that your time is limited, so don't waste time living it someone else's life. And the truth is, you can only think what you want and ask yourself this question internally, and you cannot look for it in some, I would say, external system that is a school or that is a work. Quite often, what you can get inspired from is actually your friends, or you can go and observe it by yourself, so learn by observation, then come back with some different ideas for your new life, but you're not going to find it in school. The third lesson which I learned, which is the fitting in the environment is not the goal, but standing out this. If you take a look at the people who are really obedient by the rules, and they were always kind of generalists, in the long term they're not more successful. If you look at any kind of problem that you want to look for some friends that they've gone through it. If you, for example, want to have some, I question about some breakup, you want to go to the friend that broke up recently. If you want to start your own business, you're going to a friend that started his or her own business. And actually, if you just go to generalize, so there's people that specialize in everything and they're just obedient by every part of rule in the system, they're not kind of your worth to you, you know. So there's this quote from Shane Parrish that you cannot be seen if you're busy trying to blend in. If you're always the same, then people don't see you of a loss of value. And then there is this fourth part, which is that school trains you for instant rewards, while in life you need to have quite often delayed gratification. Because if you go to the school or if you go to some corporation, you have a test, you have an exam, and then you just learn for this exam, you give it pass or fail, and then you go on. And then the school teaches you from the teacher perspective, okay, man, you were a very good teacher. You were a very good student. You got A. Oh my God, this is an instant reward. Mom, you know, I got A in school. While in life, if you think about this, to get the biggest goals, then you have to quite often wait for it. If you think about this, if you want to get, for example, a mortgage for your house, you need to save money. You need to every month put aside 2,000-3,000 euro. Then you need to have some money at least for the initial investments, and then you can get it, but usually you need to wait 2 or 3 years. If you want to start your company, then usually you need to wait also until you're going to see the results. You need to build the product, you need to find your team, you need to recruit people, then to test this against some users or your customers. It just takes time, you know. And I like this quote that people who succeed are not the ones who will avoid failure. They're the ones who stick around long enough to learn from it. And what you see that success or overall being happy is a result of lots of iterations, lots of going, outside of your comfort zone, and being stubborn, that's searching for what you want is actually at the end of this rainbow, but you need to get to this rainbow. And this road to the rainbow is very long. So thinking about this, like we were told lots of these things in the schools about the exams, about like this instant gratification, but how can you get, how can you switch your mindset? How can I get where I want to be? And I have these 3 main takeaways from you, like how you can think about these old rules and go into the new kind of reality when you have the desired happiness. First one, what you need to unlearn is that don't follow the rules. Actually the opposite, define what you really want, what the people around you, who are the people around you that you want to have, what is the vibe that you want to have, what are the values that you want to have, and write it down on a piece of paper. Don't follow on, you probably never dreamt about working for some corporation or BCG, but you dreamt about some status, you dreamt about some desired picture for your life. You want to have probably some relationship in a specific place, that you want to live in Barcelona, you want to have children. Write it down and really think about this. Okay, so what do I want to have in my life, where I want to be? Then secondly, instead of being conformists and abide by the rules, actually think from current environment, what doesn't work for me. So if you take a look at this, you probably ignore lots of things just because someone told you, okay, this is how usually it's done. That everyone does it, So for example, that someone is not nice at you, to you at work, that the bad culture. Oh my God, everyone in kind of, real estate is badass. Everyone in consulting must have like a horrible manager. But actually, write down the things which they do not work for you, which make you stress every day. And start working on this, just to kill one by one the initiatives or like the tasks or the actually, stop meeting up with the people around you that do not contribute to your happiness. And third part, which I've noticed, is that usually we just accept where we are. We're doing what we're used to and we're doing what is good. But each person has this kind of deep desire to do something or to go for some trip. I talked recently to my friend that he dreamt about going to New York. And I asked him, why are you not going? Because he wanted to go over the long term for like half a year. But actually you don't know how is it over there. Why you don't do it, next week for 1 or 2 weeks? What is stopping you? And quite, I think, beneficial to you is just do what you really dreamt about and just do it tomorrow. Try to limit the barrier. And I like this saying that try to find the easiest possible way to reach your goal and just do it. There's no even like a, I would say, easy route. Then just to recap this, defining what you want in your life and who are the people around you, what are your values. Then secondly, identifying what are your kind of energy drainers, what you don't like, what you like to eradicate. And the third part is, if you have some one big goal, just start realizing it right now. So just to close and reflect, I would like to make this once more exercise with you. But guys, can you close your eyes and ask yourself one question? Where do you want to be in 5 years? So, how do you want to live? Where is your house? Who is in your house? Do you have a dog? Do you have a girlfriend, boyfriend? What values are of the people around you? Are they loyal? Are they trustworthy? What kind of work do you want to do every day? Do you want to do some remote work, or do you want to be a doctor? You want to go to a hospital every day? Who do you want to spend your time with? And then think about some kind of wealth, or what kind of money or like wealth level do you need? Do you need a lot, or do you just want to live your comfortable life somewhere in the suburbs? It will be totally okay. Write it down. Try to point by point define who are the people, where do I live, what do I feel, what are my basically values, and am I sticking to my values at this point? And then once you have it defined, think about the second part, which is like a second section of your notes, is basically where I am. So, right, what do you have today? What are the people around you? Where do you work? What's your financial level? And start asking yourself the question: what I'm not doing today to basically reach this goal. So where is the biggest gap or the biggest discrepancy between status quo, so where I am today, and this life in which I want to be in 5 years? I can tell you personally that for me, I started, I did this exercise 2 years ago, and I've noticed that I want to be free financially. I want to have totally freedom of my time. Where do I want to work? I want to be free from where I'm working. And what's really interesting exercise that you can ask yourself a question. Okay, so from all of the points which I've written today, what I'm not doing today, as of right now, and just start doing it. So guys, just to maybe share it with others and to motivate others, what you can do, you can write down what is the life that you want to have in the comments. I can help you maybe clarify it, maybe try to reach you to the next goal. I can give you also some hint in the comment how to get to the next step. And you can also write down what are the steps that you want to take, which will lead you to this desired life in 5 years. And what I'm gonna also try to do, I'm gonna compile a newsletter with some tips on how to get to this life in which you want to be in 5 years. And from my perspective, I think I reached it. Then 2 years ago, I asked myself this question: where do I want to be? And today, I'm like the founder of a quite growing sports tech company with 9 employees. I think I'm happy with my friends around me. I have lots of healthy, I would say, psychological schemes in my head, how I'm reacting with people, who are my friends around me, how they support me. I think I'm really happy. And I think this aware plan for what you want to be and getting to writing down yourself the goals and the tasks to do to basically get there and really doing them, is just the simplest way to the happiness.